Hello guys, my name is Dojcin and this is the first video I want to make in English because I've been asked by my friends, English speaking friends, that I need to try make some of my videos in English. And actually this is definitely not my first video. I have a channel on YouTube which is called TrueRiders Shop, and I'm doing these videos since already maybe more than 15 years. My shop is aged 30 years, and since the very beginning we are the first board shop in Bulgaria, and we are definitely not a mainstream shop. We are a core shop. We are snowboarders, and we want to make business from snowboarders to snowboards. So this is the third series of my video about how to mount your bindings on your board, which are some of my most successful videos ever. Some of the first videos I made 15 years ago was viewed about 70,000 times, and well, I wish that maybe some English speaking people would like to see what we in Bulgaria are doing, and especially some men and some people who are really snowboarders, what they do about how to mount their bindings. So basically today I'm in my shop, my new shop actually. It's just a very new room with many snowboards. People know that in TrueRiders shop you can see super many snowboards, and maybe mostly all the best from the snowboard scene. So today, me, Dojcin, I am here on my board where you can meet me in Golobrdo Street, Sofia, and I can mount your bindings. Definitely, if you come visit me personally, in person, I can mount your bindings perfect, but definitely with my video, I can give you some good directions. So today I will try to make this video in English, and I'm starting now. To mount your bindings, I need my tools. Definitely I need my screwdriver. I will show you why. I am using my battery drill, which is a very important tool. I don't advise you to use that at home. Use it at your own risk. And my super important measurer. The measurer is something I can't mount my bindings without this thing. So I have a beautiful Korua snowboard here, which is a directional board, and this is kind of something that I really want to stress on, because mounting your bindings and using your favorite stance is yes, it's super important, but we need to stress on that. The boards are different, people are different, proportions are different, so you should use, for any different board, for any different snow conditions, you should use maybe different stances. So it's best to advise yourself with somebody who can mount and help you with your favorites, with your favorite stance, etc. But today we are giving the basic. Basic is after 30 years of experience, excuse me, it's more than 40 years of experience, and I have found out that it's a constant development. Today, it's all changed from the very beginning. While we started early 90s, it was completely different. Most of the boards were you can't find that boards anymore. So today boards are a wide variety, and this Korua here is a directional carving board which can definitely go very well in the powder. It is super nice, and you need to have your proper stance to do your proper carving or your proper ride in the powder. So you know, you have your bindings. This is a simple pair of classic beautiful bent metal bindings. I chose the unibody series, which is this one, and I chose this board because it's directional, and there I am starting. Well, you need to choose whether you should go for a wide stance or for a narrow stance, but basically a good idea, a good starting point is just to measure the distance between your heel on the floor and the axle of your knee. That, in my case, is about 55 centimeters. So I prefer a bit wider stance, and adding kind of 2 centimeters on that, it's my favorite 57 centimeters. When I mount my board, I need to take in consideration that the board has a setback, a off stance, which is, you can call it however you want, but basically if you take your measurer, you can just try and see from the nose to the beginning of the inserts here. You can see this one has like 55.5 centimeters, and in the back it has like 35.5. So this makes a total of 20 centimeters. 20? Yeah, exactly. Am I right? Yeah. This guy has 20 centimeters of setback. This is plenty of it. So I can't afford myself to go forward. So I can slightly go back, because this is super important to keep the way the board was shaped and the way you need to ride your board. So I am, of course, I'm gonna take care about these little crosses they have put here, and they tell me this is like probably the best stance, but definitely I want to go for mine. And I'm using my plates, and these are the the discs, and I am gonna put them here, using and going correctly towards the middle or towards the nose and the tail until I find my favorite stance. So I choose at first to start with the second from the very beginning, and here I am with my measure, and I try to find mine. Well, this was a good shot because I actually found my stance immediately, and well, I'm not wondering, because this is probably my 20,000th board that I have been mounting. So basically this is probably my stance, and this is the good stance for this one. Yes, you need to know that with your twin tip board, you gotta keep the same and find your best stance. But on this board I will play for the setback that is like done in the board. Otherwise, with your twin tip board, you can just make your choice and make a slight difference between the nose and the tail, and this is going to give you a better control, maybe in the powder, maybe a better control in fast riding. Definitely not your best way to ride backwards switch. So I'm continuing to mount this board, and then we'll discuss some small details about how to mount on other boards. Now, speaking about directional boards like this one, of course, one has got to use and choose the best angles of your feet. Of course, most of the snowboards do ride the so-called duck stance, which is like your feet are mounted opposite. And after my experience and after 30 years of mounting boards, I found out that over 30 degrees in total of the angle between your feet is already too much. So basically 30 is probably the best and the widest one. Stances of 15 to 15 degrees, this is how I call it's either for a super beginner or for somebody who is like a super pro. Super pro means that, you know, you could really ride in the park, go ride backwards, switch everywhere where you want, and you can definitely be whenever you want with your super total stance. But this is not going to allow you to be the best in your direction, especially for people who are tourists or people who do some stuff which is really tricky and really they want to do to be good in their direction. Otherwise, pros with 15 to 15, they can do whatever they want, but they are pros. We are tourists, so we need to find our most comfortable stance ever. And this is how we reach that. With the 15-15, if you haven't chosen your leading foot, your direction, either whether you are goofy or regular, then you can go for 15 to 15. You will find your choice in kind of a day. Otherwise, 15 to 15 is for super pros. So I do not recommend that. For this board, which is a super directional board, I definitely advise you to go a little bit towards the front of the board, which means that while having your front foot with a bigger angle, stressing at 21, 24, and bringing the back foot also towards the zero, this is a way you can put your knee into the turn and engage the side cut so you can make a beautiful carving. This is super important, especially for directional board. So if you have two quivers and you want to make your choice between these two boards, it's definitely super important to go and find the best stance and the best way you can control your board, no matter if it is a twin tip board or it is a directional board. This is super important to have a different choice and to make your board stay like this. So now I am continuing to mount my discs and my bindings. So second thing, which is super important, is to go for where you position your foot towards the board. And now I'm gonna bring a boot. I will keep the same story, going for the black white, which is the typical the typical color of that super stylish Korua brand. So I am taking out a black and white Northway boot, and I'm gonna stress on what is super important. When you mount your bindings on the foot, on the board, you need to make absolutely sure that your board, your boot, is stressing on the middle of the axle of the board. You know, super important is that your heel is not showing out more than your fingers, and basically it is best to have your foot in the middle or a little bit towards the front, never towards the heel, because this is the way you can avoid all the pain, all the tiring of your long part of your foot, and this is something that is super important. All right, so again, speaking about boards, it's definitely better to go for somebody who knows and to help you with your equipment and specifically about your body, because proportions in the body are super different. Some people have a longer torso and the other ones have longer legs, and this is different for everybody. And it is very important one to know, and just keep in mind, you can definitely take your stance out of your previous board and adjust. Play with that, because this is gonna give you much more satisfaction, much more painless riding, and much more pleasure. So another little deal about how to mount your bindings is that on this Korua board I would definitely go for my regular stance, and while you mount your board, you need to have your heel backs towards you, because if you put the bindings like this, you can't really measure, and I personally, after some thousands of mountings, I can't mount my bindings like this. So I would definitely go for the heel backs towards my body, and then I will start mounting. Now, of course, because I want to spare some time, I'm not gonna really mount these bindings on the board, but here is a story about this little binding, which is a unibody binding, and unibody means that the chassis of the body is a complete part. So basically on this binding you can't adjust the way your boot fits the binding. So basically I think that with this binding I can really show you that this binding is slightly bigger for that boot, and you see the heel here a bit more than the fingers. So this is something that is very important with this binding. I need to use the discs and to put them not directional with the little sliders here, but put them like this. So when putting these discs like this, I can really adjust the way I put my boot. And as I mentioned already, this is the most important part of how to mount your bindings on the board. So once I decide that, I'm still looking for my favorite 57 centimeters of stents, and then I'm ready to mount. Okay, I take my binding, I find the correct angle, which everybody know is here around the discs. I would go for this one. Well, you should definitely try the directional for these kind of boards, because this is the way you should ride carving or something like that. But for old school surfers, skaters and snowboarders like me, I would probably try to again put a little bit of duck stance, maybe 3 degrees, maybe 6 degrees. So I'm making this 6 and I'm making this 24 in the front. So this is in total of 30. So I will mount my bindings like this. Well, this is the way my Corula should look like, and I am up to start tightening my bolts. This is also a really tricky situation, because I will remove the bindings, excuse me, from the board, and I will tell you the story about how to put your little bolts in the inserts here, because this is a super important part. Many people are making a mistake. I wouldn't recommend you to use your cordless drill, because well, it's a good way to mistake the thread and just to break your threads in the inserts. So this is something that should be used with somebody with a strong hand and secure, of course. So I will use this one, at least because today I have mounted 10 boards already, and I don't want to, you know, use the screwdriver constantly. But basically the idea is that I want to put the bolts in the discs, of course after measuring and taking and making my decision wherever should I mount my bindings, and then I insert the bolts here. Why do I have my screwdriver here? I advise you to use this one, because this is the way I will tighten the bolt, start the thread, make it enter, and then this is why I definitely need my cordless drill, because it has these little numbers here, and here over there it has the numbers where I have found this is like basically kind of referring to Newton meters, which is the strength of the tightening your bolts. And this is super important, because many people are using either a normal screwdriver or one of those fancy snowboard tools, which are super comfortable, but they're super easy to over tighten. And this is very important. Don't over tighten your bolts, because if you have waxed your board yourself, you definitely have found out that under there, under your bolts, you will find those little holes. It's like your base has been sucked from the bolts, and this is how you kind of, you know, over tighten your bolts, and this is how you become these little holes. This is of course definitely not a super big damage. It could be if you over tighten with all the strength of your hands, but I think it's better to use Newton meter regulation. So with your cordless drill, you can just go and tighten all the bolts at the same tightening, and you can start easy. Yeah, well, if you tightened not too hard, you need to remember that all the bolts, when your binding is new, they have this little paint, and this basically not paint, it's kind of like thread glue. This glue is just taking care about that your bolts are not gonna unscrew while you're riding. Yes, it's good to check out your bolts afterwards, but you need to know that if you take your screwdriver and you check your bolts, just don't really make the click, just try it. If it's loose, you're gonna feel it, but just don't make that click, because even if you tighten it, then you break the glue, and this is the way afterwards your bolts gotta be easy to unscrew, and over tightening definitely means some damage. Well, of course I will need to explain to you that just don't play with fake bits. Fake bits means that, you know, well, you have to find, you can find some super cheap screwdrivers which are definitely fake, but the most important is to know that all the bolts on the boards recently are with the Phillips standard, which is normally for the bolts that are being attached to the base. It's just a screwdriver which is a Phillips bit of number 3, so it's Phillips 3. You can use that, and it's really comfy fitting the bolt, and it stays in there. So make sure that that is okay, because if you use another or wrong bit, you're gonna damage your bolt. And trust me, if you use the correct one, you're not gonna damage anything. Also with the cordless drill, this is super important. Well, this is how to mount your bindings on the board and how to tighten your bolts, and it's not going to be a long story, but you can play with that, and you can follow me for some more advice in my channel in YouTube, TrueRiders Shop. We will try to probably translate our videos with subtitles so you can watch, because I think we have supported snowboarders with some super important info. And in the end, I will just shortly say what I wanted to present today. Recently, everything is changing. Of course, boards and trends are changing, and it is important to play with your stance, to play with the angles of your bindings, to play with your riding. So having a hand tool just where you can like help you a little bit to get better control, to get less pain, to have more pleasure, this is super important. I can recommend that you don't have to stay what you have done before. Maybe a day, maybe an hour to lose into like getting into the new stance is gonna just take some of your time, but you have to play with that. And with TrueRiders and with me, you can just follow and understand that we have experience given by you. So if you have something to share with us, it's gonna be great, because this is gonna give us the chance to give to our clients and to our fellow snowboarders a better experience. So follow me, Dochin from TrueRiders, and if you like that I do some of my educational videos in English, just please send me a message, and I will be happy to try to help people who don't speak Bulgarian. So, me, Dochin, TrueRiders Shop, Sofia, Bulgaria, but worldwide.